So let's talk about the madness that just happened in the swamp last night because that was such a curveball and such just a wrench in what the college football playoff picture was supposed to look like going into championship weekend and everything. What happened in that LSU Florida game is going to go down in history. I guarantee you that that will be something that Florida fans will always come back to. I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan. What happened last night will be Florida's double doink. I kid you not, because especially if they go out and beat Alabama next week, I do not know what's going to happen. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to come here and talk about, can Florida still make the college football playoff, and talk about what happened last night. Because honestly, as a college football fan, as you can see, I'm a huge South Carolina Gamecocks fan. But as a college football fan, that was a great game for me to see. And even though I'm a big Gamecocks fan and I'm not supposed to like Florida, and I was a huge fan of LSU last year. Like, I have a Joe Burrow jersey over there, Joe Burrow LSU jersey. I loved watching LSU last year. But as a college football fan this season, Florida is a team that I really like this year. I always have those specific teams that, like, just for the one season, just with the players on that team and everything, I really like the team. And Florida was that team for me this year. I really liked Florida. I love Kyle Trask because he's an amazing quarterback. Just some of the throws that he had last night. Yes, he did throw a couple picks, but his good throws were just so feathered and so perfect that it's just fun to sit back and watch. Kyle Pitts is my favorite player on that team. That guy is so much fun to watch. I can't wait to see him. I have him going to the Carolina Panthers in the NFL draft. I've been saying this forever. And I'm a bit of a Panthers fan too. If they draft him, I'm getting a Kyle Pitts jersey because I love the way he plays and everything. Kadarius Toney, I'm a big fan of. Grimes, I'm a big fan of. So that Florida team, yes, even though I'm a Gamecocks fan, I did come to like that Florida team because there was lots to like on that team. And I really wanted to see two SEC teams get into the playoff because as much as I'm a big Gamecocks fan, I love the SEC, and I always am going to root for two SEC teams to make the playoff because it just increases how good our conference actually is and proves to the people that still think that the SEC, this division or this conference right here, is still not the best conference. It's out of their mind, but it's just, I like to see. Even when, like, Alabama and Georgia made it, I don't like Georgia at all, but it was still fun to watch when I see two SEC teams in the playoff, especially in the national championship. It's more fun. And this game, I did find myself cheering. I wanted Florida to win just so I could sit back and watch and know that this game coming up this weekend was going to have huge playoff implications in it. The game in Atlanta. But LSU went in and they had other plans because that was such a crazy game. First off, LSU's defense played really well against a Florida offense who's been lights out this season, scoring, running up the scoreboard. They've been scoring like an average of 47, 48 points a game or something like that. And then LSU goes in and they hold them to 31 in that game. Lots of turnovers in that game. I saw one of the craziest interceptions I'd ever seen in my whole life. The one where it tipped off of, it was either Grimes or Toney, tipped off of his hand, hits the LSU defender in the helmet. While he's in the air, he's out of bounds, but he's in the air, back up to the guy on the sideline who was originally out, but he reestablishes himself with his knees, gets him balanced, and catches the ball. That was absolutely insane. That was fun to watch. There were a couple other, I'm pretty sure Ricks had a pick six in that game, and there's another interception or so. So LSU's defense, Bo Pelini had that team ready and everything for that Florida offense, and they definitely showed up in that game. So LSU's defense, definitely helped them in winning that game. And LSU's offense, going to them, Max Johnson had an amazing game that game. A lot of wide receivers stepped up. Booty was a big guy who stepped up in that game for LSU. They had an amazing game out there. Max Johnson looks like he could be the future of LSU football, which is exciting to see. This was his first start ever going out into the number 6 team's home. He was on a road game in the SEC, and coming out with a win is not something easy to do, especially when your team puts up 34 points. Now, I know the defense did score 7 of those, but putting up that amount of points for your first start ever against the number 6 team in the country away is pretty impressive. But can we just talk about the end? Because holy crap, that was just such... it was really jaw-dropping for probably both teams. Like, if I was a fan of Florida, you obviously know that was just absolutely gut-wrenching. Like, I felt it even too, because I felt for the Florida fans in that game. After everything that has happened, they've waited so long to get to this point, and for everything to come down to what happened in that game was really just took the life out of it. If you were a Florida fan, if I was a Florida fan, that would have absolutely taken the life out of me. I can't imagine what you guys are feeling right now. LSU fans, it's in the same state of shock. Like, how on earth did that just happen? How did we come out of here with a win? Because they did play a really good game, but it was just the end of the game that's just absolutely mind-blowing. So we all know what happens. 3rd and 10. LSU flips it to their tight end out wide. He's running a flat, I'm pretty sure. Florida swarms him. Yeah, they get to him, whatever. But then, in tackling that tight end, his shoe comes off. And in his shoe coming off, Wilson decides to pick it up and chuck it 20 yards downfield in what was going to be a stop, what was going to get Kyle Trask with about 2 minutes left or so, or a minute 30 left to go down and score a game-winning drive. Decides to chuck the shoe 20 yards down the field, and you saw as soon as he chucks that shoe, his teammates are all up in his face, like shoving him and stuff. And of course the refs, there are multiple flags come flying in, and it was hilarious when the ref came out and he was like, unsportsmanlike conduct, throwing the opponent's shoe 20 yards down the field. Because that's just like something that, like, when you're a team that is so close to a playoff win, for that to happen, and then so continuing on, LSU goes, Florida stops them at about the, I want to say like the 40 or 42, something like that. So it's a long field goal for Cade York still to go up and make that kick. And of course he nails it, but Florida calls a timeout to allow them to have more time. So Kyle Trask still has about 30 seconds left on the clock with 2 timeouts to go out there and put together a drive to get them in field goal range, which that they do. They get them in decent range, but then it was McPherson. I felt so bad for him after that because it just barely sailed left, and LSU won the game as the clock expired. That was a game. Holy, like I just remember my heart. Honestly, I'm not a fan. I'm just a fan of college football in this game. Like, I'm not a diehard Florida fan. I'm not a diehard LSU fan. I'm a diehard South Carolina fan. I just love watching SEC football. And just a feeling that I had, even though I wasn't a fan of either of these teams, when that kick sailed left, I was just like, oh man, that's gotta hurt. Because, like, everything that happened in that game was just absolutely pandemonium. Like, it was one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen to a college football game, especially with such big playoff implications on the line. That was just insane. So can Florida actually make the playoffs still? Obviously, bottom line, for them to have any chance at making the playoff, they need to beat Alabama this weekend. No question about it. If they lose, they have no chance. For any slight possibility to make the playoff, you need Alabama to go out there. You need to go beat Alabama in Atlanta this weekend. Other things that I would say need to happen is you're going to need Clemson to lose to Notre Dame. You're going to need a Notre Dame win. You're going to need maybe like a Northwestern win. That's the tough thing because I have no idea what the committee thinks about the Big Ten teams right now because Northwestern has a loss, I'm pretty sure already, and Ohio State is undefeated, so you'd want Northwestern, a 2-loss team. You just want as many 2-loss teams as possible, so you're going to have them. You want Northwestern to win. You want Notre Dame to beat Clemson. You want Tennessee to go out there and beat Texas A&M. That's going to be a given. What else do you need to happen? I think you want Oklahoma. What are the records of those two teams? Because I know Oklahoma and Iowa State both have 2 losses. So one of them's going to go out with 3. I think Florida still has a slight chance. That's my second video in a row that I've let that happen where I've talked for so long that the memory card fills up and I have to start refilming. So going back in what I was saying about Florida and making the playoff, because so I said you need a Notre Dame win, you need a Northwestern win. Yes, you need Northwestern to win. You need to beat Alabama. You need Tennessee to win. You probably need Cincinnati to drop a game because if all this happens, you're going to have an undefeated Cincinnati team sitting up there, which is not what you want. I even want to say you need Coastal Carolina to lose just to be even more sure that the possibility of an undefeated Group of 5 team sneaks into the playoff. So you'll probably want Coastal to lose. And then who do you have in that situation? So Notre Dame would be the number 1. You'd have Alabama 2. Yeah, you'd have Alabama 2, a one-loss Alabama 2. They lose the conference championship, but you'd put them 2. You'd have Northwestern 3 because they're the Big Ten champions with 1 loss. I think you'd put them in if they went out and beat Ohio State. And then if you have Cincinnati losing, if you have Texas A&M losing, and then I don't think that Iowa State and Oklahoma should be a threat if Florida goes out and beats Alabama. I think Florida probably will sneak in if those things happen. Now it's a complete long shot because we know Clemson's going to be favored over Notre Dame. Alabama's going to be favored over Florida. Ohio State's going to be favored over Northwestern. Texas A&M's going to be favored over Tennessee. Cincinnati, I can't remember who they're playing. I think they're playing Tulsa or something. They're going to be favored over them. So that's 5 underdog wins that you need for Florida to squeak into the playoff. But as crazy as last night was, it just shows you that anything could happen in college football. So who's to say that all 5 of those games go out and all the underdogs win and Florida squeaks into that 4th spot or whatever and makes the playoff? Because that would be an Notre Dame, Alabama, Northwestern, and Florida playoff would be absolutely insane. I'd love to watch that. I think that would just be so much fun just because that's nowhere close to what everyone was expecting. Right now, everyone's expecting Alabama's going to be 1. You're going to have Clemson at 2. Consider probably that they're going to win that game against Notre Dame. You're going to have Ohio State at 3, and then you're going to have Notre Dame at 4. So those are going to be your 4 teams. Unless Notre Dame wins and everything else goes to plan, then Texas A&M might grab that 4th spot. But Texas A&M might grab that 4th spot, and then Notre Dame will go to... They could jump to 1. I don't see them jumping to 1. I see them sticking at 2. But there is a slight possibility for Florida to make the playoffs. Still lots to happen. You need lots to happen. But it's just going to make championship weekend even more exciting and even more nerve-wracking and everything for you guys. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Definitely go like down below. Comment anything about college football. Subscribe and come back next time.